Hello everyone and welcome to Long's Toys. Have another Kamen Rider build review for you today. This is the DX4, Ninpoutou, which I understand is a bit of a tongue twister. I sometimes still have trouble with it. Also sometimes called the Yon, Ninpoutou, because yon is the Japanese word for four. But it is the primary weapon of the Nin comic form, which you can see featured prominently here on the right side of the box. It's a very kind of tiny little dagger type weapon, although on the show it's supposed to be a sword because the actual prop is much bigger. But you can see like on the blade it's got panels like from a comic book, which is kind of a neat idea. It's definitely an out there design, but I kind of really like it. So this is the front of the box, very, very colorful. On the bottom here you get a nice picture of the mask. You can see the kind of shuriken eye and then the kind of comic page with the panels and the pen. I like this form a lot. And then here's a picture of the sword there. And then on this side, you just have a picture of him and the sword. And this side, the same. And then on the back, he can use it to create copies. It kind of breaks down what each of the four panels does. He can create copies of himself, and then you have a couple of blade attacks, and then this is like a disappear in a cloud of smoke. So pretty neat. On the top here, again, just kind of shows 4, Ninpoutou, sword, 4, we already looked at the bottom. So yeah, that's it for the packaging. Very tiny and compact, but the sword itself is kind of tiny and compact. But let's get it out of the packaging and we'll take a closer look. So here it is out of the packaging, and as you can see, it is kind of tiny. When I put it in my hand, you can see that it's, it's maybe slightly over, like the blade itself is slightly a foot, maybe something like that. It's not ridiculously long. But I feel like it fits well in my hand as far as the handle goes. You can see there's a trigger here, and then you can see the 4 panels here. This is for the creating after images. This is for the 2 different blade techniques, and then this is disappearing in the cloud of smoke. On and off switch very prominent right here on the back, and speaker also pretty prominent. Solid yellow on the back. The panels are only on the front, which makes sense. And then some really nice metallic purple here. I really like that a lot. The 2 AA batteries go here in the handle. You just unscrew this right here and pop them in. Very simple. So I'll go ahead and turn it on. So it just announces its name. At this point, if you hit the trigger, so basically what happens is there's no kind of default blade sound like you might expect. It really depends on how many times you press the trigger. If you press it once, you get this one, twice this one, 3 times this one, and 4 times this one. So you press the trigger, it'll make that kind of like pulsing sound waiting for you to press the trigger again. But it's kind of a neat sound because it sounds like someone is scribbling, like drawing a comic real fast. So it's a really neat sound effect that I like a lot. So you're just going to hit the trigger. It'll do that kind of waiting, repeating sound until you hit it again. So we just saw that. I'll show it one more time. So there you go. So that's the sound effect for the first panel. If we hit it twice, same kind of waiting sound. And now we'll do 3 times. And now for the 4. So I really like that sound effect there for the last one. So there are no lights, it's just sounds, but I think it's kind of a fun toy. It doesn't have a ton going on, but sadly it kind of still has more sounds than the drill crusher. There's obviously nowhere to attach or, hook in a full bottle or anything like that, but I don't really think it needs it. These kind of remind me of the smaller side weapons we got with Gaim, like the Ninpoutou or the Banana Spear, where they didn't really have anywhere to connect the Loxy. They were just kind of additional little weapons, specific to different forms, and that's what this really reminds me of. I feel it's very reminiscent of that. The nice thing that these have going for them is that they're relatively inexpensive. The same thing with the Hawk Gatlinger. They're around $20 before shipping, and I feel like for something with sounds, that's not terribly overpriced. I mean, if you think about stuff we see kind of over here as part of like a Power Rangers toy line, you'll see smaller weapons and things that can be, really we see mostly morphers that are kind of in the $30 to $35 range. But if you think about a smaller weapon that has some nice sounds and some nice design for around $20, I don't feel like that's an incredibly inappropriate price. And that's kind of why I've been picking these up. I think if they were a lot more expensive, I probably would have shied away from them. But because I feel like they're reasonably priced, and I feel like for what you pay, they're fun. I mean, sure, you might get bored of this rather quickly, but it's kind of fun to just kind of pick up and goof around with for a little bit and then kind of put down and maybe the next day come back and do the same for a couple minutes. I don't know, it's simple, but I like it. It's definitely small, but I mean, all roleplay Japanese swords are small for these kids' toy lines, so I feel like complaining about that again just doesn't make sense. It's just kind of par for the course. But I really like the design of the 4 different panels, and I like the fact that you can get 4 different attacks by the number of time you push the trigger. I would have loved like just a generic slashing sound or something, like maybe if you held the button down, or maybe if you just got a generic slash sound by hitting the trigger by itself, and then you held down the trigger to switch over to this mode, and then it would be how many times you clicked the trigger. But again, it's a relatively inexpensive weapon, and I can understand why they didn't want to put that much additional stuff into it. I still feel like for the price, what you get is decent. I mean, when I look back at the Drill Crusher, sure, you could slide in the full bottle, and it came with a full bottle, but that thing was almost twice the price, and I feel like it does half as much. Yes, it's bigger and it's bulkier and it has that rotating gimmick, but at the end of the day, I would rather have more sounds than just a rotating gimmick. That doesn't impress me very much. So I think this is fun. I recommend it. If you wanted to wait until it goes on sale, because it probably will. These weapons usually don't fly off shelves, but you never know. So it's kind of a gamble. If you want to take the risk and you want to say, hey, maybe there'll be a sale and I can get it for $10 or $15. For $10 or $15, I would say this thing is a steal. Still at $20, I don't think you're overpaying. I think for what you pay, you get a pretty fun toy here. So let me know what you guys think. I'd like to hear from you in the comments below. Please like and share this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you guys have enjoyed this look at the DX4 Ninpoutou, or Yon Ninpoutou, as the toy itself calls it, or the toy calls itself, however you want to say that. In any case, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you so much for watching.